This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, good. All right. So they asked you a few questions over there, and but good. So again, we had a beautiful, beautiful wedding. Mazel tov to Akiva and Chava. Welcome, welcome home, brother and sister. Fully home at this point. Yeah. Okay. Interesting, right? When we answer Amen, okay, what is Amen about? What does Amen mean? What is the root of the word Amen? Confirmation. Chava Amuna. Do you want to answer what's the root of the word Amen? Emuna. That's the root of the word Amen, right? That it is this, like you said, right? Like you said beautifully, it is an affirmation, right? I am accepting that as true. Okay. A couple of things. A person should answer Amen properly, meaning you don't want to cut off the bracha and answer Amen too quickly. You don't want there to be a pause between the bracha and the Amen, right? That comes up fairly often when a person is reading from the Torah, right? So often the Balkore, right, if he's not an experienced Balkore, he thinks what he's supposed to do is Amen, and then he starts to read. But in fact, he's supposed to answer Amen to the bracha and then start to read. So if the Balkari, the reader, the Torah reader, is having problems locating the exact place, so does he wait, find the place, and then say Amen, Vaydaber Hashem, or does he say Amen? Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Lemor. He needs to answer Amen first. And a pause, if there's going to be a pause, it'll be between the Amen and the Torah reading. The Amen goes on to the bracha. Okay? So one needs to, another place where this comes up, which is according to the Ashkenazim, the only time that we answer Amen to our own bracha is in Birkat Hamazon. Baruch uvnei Yerushalayim Yira Kodesh Meiravi Ameinu. Baruch atah Hashem bonei v'rachamav Yerushalayim. Amen. So those who are listening to the person who's benching shouldn't hear bonei v'rachamav Yerushalayim. Amen. Amen. No, they should say bonei v'rachamav Yerushalayim. Amen. Everyone together. So you don't want the Amen to cut off the bracha. You don't want there to be an Amen that is a delay between the bracha. And also it's not Amen. Because then there's almost no N at the end. Right? So it's just supposed to be Amen. Right? A simple Amen. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If someone made a bracha, okay. Okay. If a bracha is being made for educational purposes and not an actual bracha, one does not answer Amen. Okay. Right? Once a child understands what a bracha is, then one could and really should answer Amen to the bracha, so the child learns that that's what they should be doing.
What average age would you say that they are really
Typically, we say the age of chinuch is age 5 or 6. Yeah. I would say even your little Malka, what's her second name?
Rivka.
Malka Rivka. Even your little Malka, right, is she's aware of what a bracha is already. Mm-hmm. How old is she? 5. Okay, good. Yeah, so then we're spot on. Right? Basi.
Aaliyah, she's one of the ones who really, she pays attention. She usually says Amen.
Oh, yeah? Well, it's beautiful. Teach her to say Amen, right? Yeah. All those things. Good. Yeah.
And now she can do Natalia Dime by herself.
Yeah. Nice. So even though you're, let's say, in introductions, you're just going to be Akiva, not Akiva Nachman, and Chava, not Chava Emuna. But when you call up to the Torah, of course, you'll be Akiva Nachman, right? Then Avraham, right? And, if there's a Misha Berach being said, right? So your children are, right? The sons, daughters of Chava Emuna. That, right? In a prayer setting, so then we use the full name. Like Jaden said to me, he's just going to go with Betzal, not Betzal and Moshe. So I said to him, that's great, but when you're getting on Aliyah, then it should be Betzal Moshe ben Akiva Nach. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Good. Okay. Why do we answer Amen to our own bracha in benching? That's the only time Ashkenazim answer Amen to our own bracha. Why? Why do we answer Amen to our own bracha over there?
Yeah, you said this one.
I'll say it again. And I'll probably say it again in another few months' time. That's fine. Okay, so if you notice, I keep saying Ashkenazim. Okay? Sfardim also answer Amen to their own bracha when it completes a series of brachot. Let's say at the end of Mariv, they say, Baruch Hashem Shem Yisroel La'ad, Amen. When they finish Shemona Esrei, they'll say, Hamvarechet Yisroel Bashalom, Amen. When they say, right, because that's each finishing a series. Yishtabach is the end of the series of Baruch Shamar, all the middle parts, and Yishtabach, Baruch Melech Mulav Tishbachot, Amen. At the end of Hallel, also they'll answer Amen. That's a series. Whenever it's a series of brachot, they answer Amen at the end of the series. It's two ways of interpreting the Gemara, right? When the Gemara says that you'll answer Amen after Bonei Brachma Yerushalayim, is that viewed as, giving an example of the end of a series? Right, that's just giving an example, but whenever we end a series, we answer Amen, or is it particularly over there? So it's a machloket, it's a dispute amongst those who explain the Gemara. Some understand that it's just giving an example, but whenever a series completes, we answer Amen to our own bracha, and that is how the Sfardim do it. Others say, no, it's only over there. Why would that be any different than any of the other series? So there is a reason why that could be different, which the Ashkenazic custom to follow, and that is actually the Birkat HaMazon is 4 blessings. Bonei Brachma V'Shalayim Amen is the 3rd blessing. Okay? So, but the first 3 are Torah based. The 4th one is rabbinic based. And therefore, being that we're closing out the series of Torah blessings, and we want to delineate between the Torah blessing and the rabbinic blessing, therefore, that's the place and the only place where Ashkenazim will answer Amen to our own bracha. Okay. Now, can a person make a bracha on behalf of someone else?
Technically, no. If they can do it by themselves.
If they can do it themselves, then perhaps they should. But can I make a bracha for you?
Yes.
Right? So let's take example, Kiddush. Right? Kiddush Friday night, typically one person makes the Kiddush, right? And everyone else is Yotzei. One person makes the blessing of blowing the shofar, and we all fulfill that, right? So typically, right, one person can make a bracha, and others are Yotzei, fulfill their obligation along with that. There are a couple of ground rules that we need to have. Number one is the person needs to hear the bracha beginning to end. And number two, both the person making the blessing has to have in mind, I want all those listening to fulfill their mitzvah along with me. And the person listening needs to have in mind, I want to fulfill my mitzvah along with the person making that. So we need what's called the kavana. The kavana is the intent of both the mevarech, the one making the blessing, and the one that is hearing the blessing. Okay? The person should answer amen, okay? But not answering amen will not cancel their fulfillment of the bracha through that person. But they should answer amen. They should not answer Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo. When we hear a blessing, Baruch Atah Hashem, everyone says, blessed is he and blessed is his name. Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo. One, if you're fulfilling your mitzvah, being yotzei with the person making the bracha, you should not say Baruch Hu Uvaruch Shemo. The reason being that is an interruption in the bracha. Okay, so that one is not supposed to do. Now, this is interesting. This comes up by Kiddush. And I have much regret about this. The Mishnah Brura says, in one place when he's discussing the laws of Kiddush, he says only the person making Kiddush should be saying Kiddush. Others should not be saying it along. If they're being Yotze along with the person making Kiddush, they should not be saying the Kiddush along. That will distract other people. It'll even distract you. Only the person saying Kiddush should be saying, everyone else should be quiet. My father, alav shalom, so much wanted and loved when his boys would be saying Kiddush along with him. And I came back from Israel and I said, Dad, I'm not really supposed to be doing that. Right? Unfortunately, later on, I saw that one of the reasons not to do it is a concept called Trei Koli Lo Mishtami. Two voices can't be heard well. Okay? So it'll be hard for everyone else to focus on this voice. If there are two voices going on, who am I listening to? Who am I focusing on? Elsewhere, by Hallel, there the Mishnah Brura says certain things that we really love doing. So there we can have more than two voices going at once. Hallel, Megillah reading, these are things that we love. And he gives another example and he says, Kiddush. So by Kiddush, he said best not to, but there he said that you could. And had I known that halacha that he said that, so he kind of gives you an option to go either way, I would have gone and made my father happy, right? So the reason I'm bringing that up over here, if you'd want Bitzalel to say, your son to say Kiddush along with you, right? To learn to say the Kiddush, there is halachic basis that is okay. He shouldn't overpower your voice. He's not a guy who looks to overpower, right? He shouldn't overpower your voice, right? But for him to say along with you, that would be okay. That's an example of where we say trei. Normally we say trei koli, two voices. Lo mishtami is not heard well, but by things that are dear to us like Kiddush and Hallel, Megillah, I think those examples he gives there, it is acceptable. Okay.
Rabbi,
Yes.
I have a question about Havdalah and the one person doing the blessing for many, and I'm not clear about when a person can do it at home when they're not, and then let's say the spouse comes from shul,
Okay.
so yeah, could you clarify that a little bit for
I can
me?
try. Okay. So
Yes.
Havdalah is very interesting. Normally, women are exempt from a positive time-bound mitzvot. Shabbos is a positive time-bound mitzvah, right? Nevertheless, women are obligated in all the laws of Shabbos, the do's and the don'ts of Shabbos, right? When women are exempted, it's only from the positive mitzvah. They're always involved they're always included in the prohibitions, except for maybe rounding out the corners of the head or any of this facial hair, right? But besides that, women are included in all the prohibitions. But the positive time-bound mitzvot, women are typically exempted from. However, there are two situations, one of them being Shabbos, where we learn out that women are equally obligated as men. Okay? And Shabbos is one of them. We learned that out because we say Zachor, which is the dues of Shabbos, and Shamor, which is the don't of Shabbos. That, as we sing in L'Chadodi, were said b'dibur echad. They were said simultaneously by God on Mount Sinai. Right? We can't say two words simultaneously, right? Obviously, God can. Okay, so therefore, those two are a twosome. Whoever is included, in the don'ts is also included in the do's. Therefore, a woman is equally obligated as a man in saying Kiddush. Okay, so if we had a situation, let's say, where, or let's used to happen when my kids were younger, they were not yet bar mitzvah, right? And I'd be traveling to the States. So then Natalie would make Kiddush for them. Natalie could actually make Kiddush for me. Typically, we don't do that. But men and women are equally obligated in the do's and the don'ts of Shabbos. How about Havdalah? Havdalah is this twilight, dusk-like sort of din. On one hand, it's part of Shabbos, but it's after Shabbos. So is Havdalah included in women's obligations or not? So we say it is with an asterisk, okay? Meaning it's not viewed as a simple suffix, as a doubt. If it were viewed as a simple suffix, then what rule would we apply? When you have a doubt about a bracha, a rabbinic bracha, what rule do we apply? You don't do it. Right? If we're not sure if we should make a bracha, as long as we're talking about not benching, which is a Torah level bracha, and not the blessing on Torah reading, which is a Torah level. But any rabbinic, all other brachot are rabbinic. If you're not sure, you don't make the bracha. So here we say women should make the bracha with an asterisk, meaning they're obligated, but not fully obligated. Therefore, if a woman has not heard Havdalah, I make Havdalah in shul here after every Shabbos. Therefore, Natalie makes Havdalah at home for herself on her own. And I tell husbands that if you're going to go home to make Havdalah and you're not making Havdalah for any bar mitzvah boys or older, you're just making Havdalah for your wife or any daughters, then don't fulfill your Havdalah mitzvah with my Havdalah. Because if that's the case, you cannot repeat Havdalah for women whose obligation is not fully there. Okay, Leticia, does that clarify what you're looking for?
Yeah, let's see, much better. Yes, that was
Okay.
always not clear to me. Thank you.
Okay. Now it's
Yes.
interesting. Another aspect that we have over here by brachot is a beautiful concept. So let's say I made Kiddush in shul. And now I'm going home again and having a meal at home, which I typically don't do, right? Now we have a beautiful Kiddush luncheon here in shul. But let's say I'm going home and having another meal, and there's someone at the meal, husband, wife, daughter, son, doesn't matter. When it comes to Shabbos, men and women are equally obligated, right? Who has not yet heard Kiddush. So can I make Kiddush again for them? I already fulfilled my mitzvah of Kiddush. I already said my Kiddush. Can I make Kiddush again for them? Similarly, let's say Rosh Hashanah, the person blowing shofar. They already blew shofar at the Hashkama minyan, at the early minyan. Therefore, they already fulfilled their mitzvah of shofar. Can they make a bracha again for all of us who need to fulfill the mitzvah, even though they themselves have already fulfilled the mitzvah? Can they or can't they? What do you say, my esteemed colleagues? They can. Why is that, Mr. Victor? Okay, but you're correct. You're correct. The reason being a very, very beautiful reason. We have a concept called Kol Yisroel Arevim Zeh Lazeh. All of Israel are responsible, are guarantors for one another. In Arev, in modern Hebrew, and also in biblical Hebrew and halachic Hebrew, in Arev is a guarantor. He signs on to the loan. Okay, you borrowing money, and the person's not so sure he wants an added level of security, so he'll ask for a guarantor. That if the borrower doesn't pay, he can go after the guarantor. Kol Yisroel Arevim. We are all Arevim guarantors. Mu'urav also means mixed. Right? We all one. Okay, and therefore, if there is one Jew out there in the world who has not yet fulfilled their mitzvah, then there's something lacking in my having fulfilled my mitzvah. So we don't say, I already fulfilled my mitzvah, I can't do the bracha for you. As long as you are fully obligated, then I can make Kiddush 100 times for 100 different people, as long as they are fully obligated. And by Kiddush, men, women are all fully obligated. By Havdalah, though, that is that gray area for women. So if a man already fulfilled his mitzvah of Havdalah, he would not make it again just for women or just for females. Okay? But a woman on her own would certainly does and must make Havdalah once Shabbos ends. Okay? Now, let's say I made a bracha, and then I spoke before I drank what I'm going to drink. What's the din over there? I made a bracha, and then I interrupted. What's the din? It's a bracha in vain, and I must make another blessing. Okay? So too, if I'm making a bracha for you, right, you need to answer amen, and then, without an interruption, drink what you're going to drink, eat what you're going to eat, whatever it might be. Okay? Now, let's say I made the bracha for you. I also made it for myself. Right? I can't just make a bracha shahakol for you, and then if I'm not going to be partaking, right? So let's say I made the bracha, you answered amen, I interrupted and you didn't. So does my interruption for my own bracha, does that cancel your fulfillment of your bracha along with me or not? So if the Mavarech deliberately interrupts after the recital of the bracha, the Mavarech, the one making the blessing, but the Shomeya did not interrupt, authorities disagree whether the bracha is effective for the Shomeya or not. There is no clear ruling on this question. If the bracha was accidental, I dropped my cup, oops, right? Then it definitely works for you, Victor. If I deliberately interrupted, there's a question. So what should you do? Yeah, right. He'll have to make his own bracha. He'll have to make his own bracha, right? He'll have to make his own bracha, right? There's no bracha lavat. Even though we say normally safek bracha lahakel. Well, that's interesting. No, maybe I'm wrong. Right? Meaning, he might have been yotze with my bracha already. In which case, for him to make a bracha now would be a bracha she'ena tzricha, an unnecessary bracha.
That'd be okay because his intention was he was getting it from you. It wasn't.
Yeah, but it's unclear. So, yeah, interesting. So in that case, What could Victor do to remove himself from this suffix and make sure he's obligated in making that bracha? Give me a trick that he can do.
Say the.
So let's say I'm eating. Let's say I'm eating some things, and I go walking outside for a walk, and I come back inside. What do I have to do? And I want to continue eating. What do I need to do? Make another bracha. Right? Going outside is a hefsek. So Victor, being the halachic, knowledgeable person that he is, he could remove himself from that suffix by going outside, right? There's no bracha levatala. He didn't make the bracha, I did, right? The question is, was he yotzi with that bracha or not? Well, once he goes outside and then comes back in, it's a whole new setting now. So that's probably what he should do in order to engineer a clear obligation in that bracha. Okay, Arvison speaks about Havdalah. Yeah, okay, good.
Do you have to do a bracha? For instance, you're having coffee, then you walk away for X or whatever reason, and you come back. Do you do a bracha again on the same cup?
On the same cup of coffee. Did you walk outside the house?
Yes.
If you went outside the house, right? Victor asked about a cup of coffee, then yes, right? That's considered a hefsek,
Okay.
right?
Every
Remember,
time if you take a sip and then you leave your house, you have to do another every time. Oh wow.
yeah, right? Look, no matter how small amount you're having, you need to make a bracha beforehand, right? And once you have a bona fide hefsek is an interruption. Once you have a bona fide hefsek of going shinui makom, as it's called, changing your place, right? Now, within a house, within a building, right, that's all the same, right? You know, you had a sip over here, you go into the library, have a sip over there, go into my office, whatever it is, right? But once you are leaving the premises, so then that would be considered a hefsek.
For this building, would it be outside gates?
No, outside the building. Outside the building.
Outside the door.
I'm sorry?
Outside the door.
Yeah. Once you're out from under the, we have a little awning over there, right? Once you're outside, you're considered to be outside.
Rabbi, so would you need, if you drank more than an ounce or what the allotted amount was after walking out, should you come back before saying the new bracha? Should you say the after blessing on what you already
That's an
drank?
interesting question, Cheyenne. If I know I'm coming back in to continue, so then I would not. I would not make another. I would not do the after blessing over there. I have to make another blessing when I come inside. Right? Similar to, if I'm eating something and then I decide to eat something else, right, which requires a different bracha, right? So then I would make the bracha on the grapes, right? And then I make the bracha. Let's say I make the bracha on the orange, right? And then I decide to have an apple, right? And when I made the bracha on the orange, I didn't have in mind the apple, and the apple was not in front of me, and I finished eating my orange already, in which case I need to now make another bracha on that apple, right? But I would not make a bracha acharona until I actually finished. Okay? Ideally, it's best if you're leaving somewhere, right? I myself fall victim to this sometimes. To remember, before you get up, just make your bracha. And otherwise, when you're right, it's not tefillas haderech, as my brother Allah Hashem used to always say. It's not the traveler's bracha. It's a bracha, huh? Asher yatzar, yeah. You say it's not tefillas haderech. Stand still, make your bracha. Yeah. Amen. Amen.
So Rabbi, if I wasn't thinking about the apple, but I had that orange first, but then I'm like, I want this, I don't have to say it, bracha, it was right there in front of me. So I ate an orange, But then,
If it was there in front of you, like I don't think there in front of you means, you've got a bowl of fruit on the counter, so it's visible.
yeah.
I think there in front of you means it's there for you to partake of. Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough. That's it.
Yeah.
So because that didn't seem right to me. Like, so I wouldn't say nothing about this fruit that I didn't acknowledge it the first time with eating the orange. But
Right. Right.
I also have a question.
Yes.
If I'm having a pastry and also coffee, right? So I have and also shakal.
Correct.
The end of the blessing after I'm done with this, with the coffee and the bread. The alhamihia covers shehakol, or I have to do.
Okay. Okay. So that's a good question. So that's a good question, right? So if you had, and the coffee is going to make it even a little more complicated. But in a classic case, if I had food that requires an alamichia, right, for cakes, or al ha'etz, for the fruits of that Israel is praised by, or ala gefen if I had wine, and I also had, well, let's look at ala gefen, and I also had food that requires a shahakal, right, right, food that the after blessing would be bari nefashot, then I need to make both of those blessings.
But what I do if that's my habit every morning. A piece of bread, pastry, I do misono.
Right?
Then I have my coffee and that's shehakol.
Yes.
But I always have in mind at the end of the day, I do alhamihia, and I'm thinking that
At the end of the day, not the end of the day, at the end of the at the end of the breakfast.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the blessing. That's why I do
Okay.
alhamihia, but I do.
So in your case, coffee, we typically will not make a bracha charona after coffee. Why is that? Okay, so we've discussed that a difference between the blessing before and the blessing after, an answer that we've discussed numerous times, is the blessing before, no matter how small amount you're having, a little sip, you make a bracha. For the bracha afterwards, you have to have a certain amount, kazayit, a reviyat, right? 5 ounces of this, right? Whatever it is. Okay. Now, besides that amount, so let's say I had that amount, right? But I had 1 ounce now, another ounce in 20 minutes, another ounce in 20 minutes, another in 20 minutes, right? It's not just the amount that you have, but it needs to be concentrated within a period of time that this was a significant eating that I did, right? For example, let's say Pesach time, at the Pesach Seder. So there, in addition to our eating that amount of matzah, that kazayit of matzah, it also should be eaten within a period of time that it makes it one eating session, right? Minimally 9 minutes, ideally 4 minutes, whatever. It needs to be condensed. Coffee, tea, which is typically drank when it's very hot. So what do? You have a little sip. And then you have another little sip. So it doesn't really aggregate together to require its own after blessing. Okay? So in general, if I had 2 different types of foods that require 2 different after blessings, besides benching, right? Birkat Hamazon, that's going to cover everything. Okay? Everything's going to be covered there. But some things are ala michya, some things are bari nefashot. So there, you would make both after blessings, as long as both of those items in and of themselves would necessitate an after blessing.
Okay.
But coffee is a bit of an exception, right?
Same thing with water, right? Same thing with water.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, same thing with water, what?
After blessing.
Water, you make an after blessing, because water is usually not drank when it's hot, so you're not sipping on the water, you're drinking the water. So there you're making it. So if you're having cake and milk, let's say, right? It's funny, we had some guests and now I had some cake out, and we don't drink much milk, right? But we had guests of us, so they needed milk, so we had milk in the house. And I said, wow, it's been about 20 years since I've dipped some chocolate cake into a cup of milk. This is a rare opportunity, right? Right. So actually, though, over there, it's interesting. If I'm dipping the cake in the milk, then the milk is not. I'm not really drinking the milk. That's more like cereal and milk. That you don't make a bracha on it. But if a person is having cake and drinking a nice cup of cold milk and having cake, so there one would make the alamichya on the cake and would make the bari nefashos on the milk. Okay. Now, a possible, what I think is an exception to this is, let's say I'm having grapes. What's the after blessing on grapes? That's the ala michya, but ala eitz, right? The bracha me'ein shalosh, because grapes is one of those fruits through which the land of Israel is praised. And I also have a clementine. I have an orange. Now, an orange, if I was just having an orange, what bracha would I make on that? Bari nefashot. But over there, the bracha I'm making on the grapes is al ha'etz, the al pri ha'etz. So I believe, I'm not sure, but I think in those cases, I don't make another bari nefashot because this is also an eighth. On its own, it would not necessitate that blessing because it's not one of the fruits through which Israel is praised. But I'm making my after blessing on fruits of the tree because of my grapes or my figs or my dates or my pomegranates or my olives. Those are the five. So once I'm making that bracha like that already, I don't think I'd make a bari nefashos on another fruit of the tree. But if I had grapes and I had melon or watermelon, so there the bracha that's bari pri ha'adama, that's things that grow from the ground. There my al ha'etz does not cover al ha'adama, so there I would make after blessing of the three-faceted blessing, the bracha me'in shalosh, the al ha'etz, and then I would make a bari nefashos after that. Okay, good, clear. Okay, good.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
One of me and my wife's favorite little snacks is bananas with almond butter and raisins on the top.
That sounds good.
It's
So
amazing.
good.
And so
Natalie, she what she loves is she takes dates with peanut butter inside.
oh yeah, we do that with almond
We do
butter.
that with almond because of Layla's
Dates and peanut
allergies.
butter?
Yeah. So what bracha? That's a great question. What bracha would one make on banana that has a scoop of almond butter
And raisins.
and raisins on top? Okay.
With the
With some agave.
we
This sounds decadent, guys.
we do bori pri ha'adama
Okay.
because that is the ikr, and we're using the other things as just.
I think so. That's what I would say. Right? So look, so the banana, it grows on a 8-foot tall bush. Right? Banana is one of those that they often ask at the conversion questions. Banana is bori pri ha'adama. It's not a tree that remains static the whole year and then just keeps giving forth its fruits. So on the banana, it's bori pri ha'adama. On the almond butter, if you're taking a scoop of almond butter, what would you make? Shahako. But it's almonds. It's processed. It has lost its form, its shape. It is shahako. Raisins, of course. Bori pri ha'etz. But in that case, the main thing you're eating is the banana, right?
Yeah.
So that would, yeah.
Would that then be still bari nefashos because there's
Yes.
raisins on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And Chava asked, and how about the after blessing? Because he did have raisins in it, right? The after blessing follows the suit of the bracha rishona, of the prior blessing. So once we established that what I'm eating here is banana with some condiments on it, right? So then the after blessing is the after blessing for banana, which is the bari nefashot. Okay? Okay, good.
And if there is a food, I guess, food dish chef, what you do. But there is some dish that has a bunch of things, they haven't really changed their nature, but you can't be sure what they are inside.
Meaning what? For example.
Yes, maybe fruit salad.
Okay, so if you have fruit salad, so there, right, if you've got really distinct different fruits in there, you have some grapes and you have some watermelon or other melon, and you have some blueberries. What bracha we make on blueberries?
Uh,
8.
oh,
That's the
yeah.
one that I misled Ashley on. She'll never let me forget that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why we didn't get
Blueberries is Hadamah, right? That's what
Huh?
Hadamah, right?
No, blueberries are 8s.
I see, I know.
Hold on, I'm gonna get you.
You gonna check that?
Yeah, I will check it out.
Check it. Check me out.
We looked at it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I
I see
thought
it.
it was
Those are the counterintuitive ones.
so it's strawberry.
Bananas Adama
Strawberry.
and blueberries are 8. Strawberry,
Strawberry is Hadamah.
that's Adama.
Yeah.
That's on a runner,
Papayas,
basically.
watermelon.
Yeah, all those guys.
All of those.
Yeah. How does papayas grow?
Almost like
On the ground, also like a melon?
almost like
It's kind of like, yeah.
no, literally it's like a tree of banana. It's like not the same, but it grows tall also. It depends on the
Oh
quality.
yeah,
Yeah, they grow really
interesting.
tall.
Papaya. What does he have? Papaya?
It's not
Does he have it over there?
Papayas? Oh, let me see.
Papaya is
It's
Hadamah.
not a New York food. I don't know if they have it on the list.
Papaya is Hadamah.
Adama.
Yeah.
Papaya Hadamah.
Yeah, I was getting pineapples wrong for a while.
Because it's hot.
It is Adama. Yeah, I always thought it grew more on a.
Me too.
Yeah, but again, that's more of a bush than a. Yeah.
And spaghetti with meat sauce.
Spaghetti with meat sauce. What would we say, my friends?
Well, we've been doing mezzanotes, but I'm reading now. It says on meatballs. It says shako.
That says and meatballs.
Yes. So
You know, the thing is processed, the noodles.
yeah, but noodles are mizonot.
No matter.
Noodles are hand down mizonot. If it's noodles and meat sauce.
Well, with meat too. Meat's in there.
Okay, so if it's noodles and meat sauce, so then you're eating noodles and this is some sauce, the same way you could have cheese on the noodles. You're not going to make a bracha on the cheese. You're not going to make a bracha on the meat sauce. If I have meatballs and spaghetti, so then each one is really its own, I would say each one is really its own thing, similar to like an ice cream sandwich. Right? Well, let's take an ice cream cone. What do you do with an ice cream cone? So there it's, I know you eat it, but in terms of brachas, right? So there it depends on the cone. Meaning, if it's a sugar cone or one of these sugar cones, chocolate cone, then that is its own entity. So you'd make a mezonot on the cone, and you'd make shahako on the ice cream. If it's a non-flavored cone, then basically that's there just to support the ice cream, right? And therefore you only make shahako and no brach at all on the cone. An ice cream sandwich is similar, right? You know, with that nice black wafer chocolate, yeah. So that's like a sugar cone that it has its flavor, and yeah.
So would you take a bite of the cone
Oh, yeah, how would
first?
you do
And because if you have ice cream on top, would you just have
What do
the
you mean?
nibble?
Take a little,
No,
take,
I'm talking about
take a
ice
little,
cream
take a
cone.
little nibble from that cone.
So that's how you should do it always.
Yeah, take a little nibble from the cone.
Same thing with ice cream sandwich. You
Because
just
I
take
wasn't
a
doing
you just take a little nibble on the little chocolate part first.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I believe it. See what he says over here about that. I think that's,
it.
yeah, ice cream in cone, tasteless cone shahako. Yeah, on the cone mizonos, ice cream sandwich, on the wafer mizonos, on the ice cream shahako. So I have a question then. A Carvel ice cream cake.
What is that made of?
So Carvel it's a type of ice cream,
Mhm.
and it has this wonderful layer of this black crumb, right, running through in the middle of it, right? So there, I'm pretty sure we just make, it would just, so why is that different than, that's what I'm asking. So why is that different than, yeah, why is that different than the ice cream sandwich where you're making both?
Because it's adding. Is it adding to the ice cream?
Yes, I'm not sure. What were you saying, Ari?
I was just gonna say, is it because the cake part is more done?
Yes. So whenever it comes to cake, as a cake, pie, anything like that is always going to be mizonos unless it's only there. If it's there to add any flavor, it's going to be mizonos. Unless it's only there just to help contain what's inside. A cheesecake, right? So a cheesecake, it just has that little graham cracker on the bottom, but that's there for flavor. So there you make the bracha mizonos, right? And I think it's the same thing.
Because it's kind of like a binding. It's not.
No, it's not there just to bind. It's not there just to contain. It's there to add flavor. Let's see what he says. Cheesecake.
Cheesecake with crust added for flavor is generally mezonot.
Right.
Crust added solely to hold the cheese.
Right. Right. Right.
How would you know?
Yeah, how would you know that?
I think is it a flavored or is it just like a little pastry flake, right?
So it's always mostly going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Rabbi, would you do things for the brachas a little differently on Shabbos? Because when I was going to Chabad before, they were kind of saying like since it's harder on Shabbos to get all the brachot in to get to 100, that they had the custom there to like individually pick things out to try and beef up, pun
Okay.
intended,
Okay. So
to
Shannon
get to 100.
is mentioning something interesting. There is an idea to say 100 brachot a day. Okay. Now with our 3 Shmona Esreis, 3 times 19 is 57. Besides the other brachot of parting davening, so on a weekday it's pretty easy to get to 100. On Shabbos, granted, we have 4 Shmona Esreis with Musaf, but it's 4 times 7, which is 28, a lot less than our 3 times 19. Okay? So on Shabbos, we're starting off at minus 29. Okay? So it's a little harder to get to 100 brachot. So Cheyenne is saying that amongst Chabad, they have the custom to sort of pick things out more. So you're making brachot. That's a bit of a dangerous method, because if you're going to run into a bracha she'ena tzricha, right, an unnecessary blessing, then it's better not to say 100 than to make bracha that you don't need to make to get to 100, right? That's clear. It's a nice thing to try to get to 100. But if you're making a bracha she'ena tzricha, a blessing that's not needed, or bracha levatala, you're not getting to 100. You're just saying God's name in vain. So it gets tricky, Cheyenne, right? Meaning, if I'm having cereal, I just start, let me make a bracha on my milk and a bracha on, right? So that's not getting to 100 brachot, right? If I decide that normally I eat this all together in one big, spoonful, but instead I'm going to really separate and have this and then that, right? I'm not sure. There are times that one can split things apart and make the proper blessings, right? But one needs to be careful with that. What one can do, well, sometimes if you're unsure, about if you're having something on a cracker, so typically that becomes secondary to the cracker. You make your mizonot and then that's it. But if it's not so clear that this might be something in and of itself, right, that may require a shahakol, right? So you can go drink some water and have in mind that shahakol. And then, right, there are ways that, yeah. So Shane, I would give a qualified, a very, very qualified yes to that. Meaning if a person does it properly, then that is a way of getting to 100, but it's not worth it unless a person is very clear what they're doing. It's not worth taking the chance of a bracha of atala to try to get to 100. Okay.
Since those things are principles, do some principles override the other ones?
There always are some principles that will override others, and we're going to get to that next week. I left the bookmark is about the bracha rishona, right? Then we'll get into that, the laws of bracha rishona. Then we have ikar and tafel, what's considered to be main, right? That's all these rules that intersect and become a bit complicated. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, my friends. Once again, a mazel tov to our groom and bride over there. Okay. And good night,
Thank
everybody.
you, Rabbi.
Good night. Good night.